request. So if you have all of that information on your resume, then when the interview process is over, they're gonna go back over the notes and see you qualify for what they're looking for. So, I mean, this just happened, 15 minutes ago. And that's why I thought it was kind of strange that that's what I was coming here to talk about, was resume writing. So, it has one purpose and one purpose only, and that is to persuade the reader to contact you for an interview. One saying that I have is, resumes get you interviews, but interviews get you hired. You can have a great resume. You could graduate top of the class from Yale, or Princeton, or Harvard, and volunteer in the community and receive tons of awards. But if you go into the interview and you have bad manners, if you go into the interview and you're not groomed, you see what I'm saying? So the interview actually is what closes the deal, gets you hired. But the resume is what gets you to the interview. I guess it would be like online dating or something.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of chat with somebody, tell you who they are, you never met them, you don't know anything about them or her.
In Jamaica, we would say you have to sell yourself.
Mm-hmm. Sell yourself, that's exactly what it is. And when you meet them, it's like, whoa. What you said is not who you are. So what do you do? You see what I'm saying? Has anybody ever tried to hook you up a blind date or something? No? Yeah? And they weren't who they thought you thought they were? Right. Reminds me of that movie, remember that movie came out years ago, Friday?
Oh, yeah.
And the girl was saying, I look like Janet Jackson. You remember that movie? Oh, you're not Janet Jackson. But yeah, that's the point I'm trying to make is the interview sells itself, but resume gets you to the interview.
Mm-hmm.
You want to tailor each resume to a specific job which you're applying for. So going back to the example I said earlier, I said in his objective, I said, please don't put, I'm looking for a job because I'm behind my child support. Please don't put, I'm looking for a job because I'm trying to just pay my bills. You say, I want to work in the solar industry because it's the future. I like what President Obama is doing with renewable energy. I mean, let them know that where they're hiring, you really want to work there. You know, I hear all the time, well, why do you want to work there? I don't know. I just try and get some work. Try and get out the streets.
Mm-hmm.
It's not my job to babysit you. Why do you want to work here? I always want, you got to sell it. If anything I've ever wanted to do, this has been the one position I've always looked for. I don't know if you tell the truth or not. You got to sell it. But most importantly, you got to be honest. You know, don't tell me all these things you can do when you get there and you don't even have a driver's license. Okay? So you want to put your career or job objective, list all your work history, education, training. You want to make sure it's organized. Don't use long paragraphs. Try to limit it to one page. People have different reasons why. Some people say more than one page may be appropriate if you have a long work history. I look at one page is better because I don't have to worry about one page getting lost. Imagine if I faxed you my resume and it was a 2-page resume and the first page got misplaced and all you have is the second page. Now what?
Mm-mm.
Or you have the first page and all it talks about is my name, where I went to school, and the second page is where I work.
Mm-hmm. Missing.
So that, I mean, that's why I suggest a one-page resume. But there's also other types of Be conservative, don't use bright colored paper. You give me a resume on a pink sheet of paper, what am I gonna do with it?
What's
Sky
that?
hook it, right in the trash. Right in the trash. This is what's gonna go. I'm not even gonna read it. The paper should not be the attention getter. The words of the paper should. Okay? Proofread it. Proofread it. Proofread it. And just because you spell the words correctly doesn't mean that you're using them grammatically.
Mm-hmm.
You can say, well, you get the picture.
Yeah,
Alright.
look at you. Mm-hmm.
So, and get somebody else to proofread it for you as well. Do not attach a photo. I don't care how good you look or how good you think you look, unless you're applying for some modeling agency. Because a photo is not going to help. Or it's already starting down the wrong path. Any comments on resumes that you've done in the past that have been successful, or something that you think I might have missed about putting on a resume?
Or this is that I have. I have a question. When you send them a long book resume in, do you think they're gonna take time to read it?
Say that again?
When people send them long books of resume, their resume may be so long. Do you think the resume takes the time to read it?
Well, what do you mean? What's your definition of a long resume?
Well, 2 or 3 pages, like, maybe some of that stuff too much.
Right, because it's like, it's like you get to know somebody, right? You meet somebody. You don't want to know their whole life story in the first 10 minutes when I graduated from elementary school. Hey, let me get to know you, get to know you a little bit. And with the resume, if you have a very long resume, the average person is not going to want to read it. It's just too long. Get to the point. If I hire you, are you going to tell me 1 and 1 is 2, but then give me a half-hour explanation of it, or are you going to get to the point? Now, there may be certain types of positions that when you apply for them, they might have a long application process where they may give you 5 or 6 pages to fill out, but when it comes to a resume, try to keep it to 1 page. If not, no more than 2. Okay? Just try to keep it to 1 page. And if you do have 2 pages, your paper will say page 1 of 2, page 2 of 2.
Mm-hmm.
At least put that on.
Yeah.
So that if I see page 1 or 2, I know to look for a second page.
Mm-hmm.
I just did that about 2 weeks ago. I was working on a project and it was 2 pages. And I said, hey, page 1 or 2, page 2 or 2, just to make sure they knew that if something got misplaced, there were 2 pages in it. So if you have to do a 2-page resume, if you're applying for a position in childcare and you've worked from high school all the way to now in different childcare positions and where you work and what you did, it may be 2 pages. You may have certain types of certifications, like, help me here, what do you call it? When you can't breathe, what do you call it? Lifeguards do the training. CPR training?
Yeah.
First aid.
Yeah.
You might have different certifications for that. So, you may possibly have to do a 2-page, but try to keep it as one. Why? Do you have a 4 or 5 page resume?
No, somebody sent me a page and I said, I ain't gonna read all this, they don't run garbage.
Okay. Okay. So, the next thing we're going to discuss is now, you may notice this. Everybody that's watching knows this. I have a horrible handwriting. Horrible. So growing up, I'm 38. We were still in the typewriter age. So my parents had a typewriter, and I would always try to type my work because I forget what grade I was in school, and the teacher gave me an F on a quiz I did. So let's say it was 5 questions. And one I gave an answer, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm paraphrasing, this is my sloppy handwriting. So she gave me an F. I was all upset and everything. I went to her and said, how am I gonna get an F? Every answer was right. She said, if I can't read it, I don't worry about it. I said, I don't have time to try to understand what this chicken scratch stands for. So, unless you take the time to write out your correct answer, it's wrong. So, I used to really try to take my time and, try to really write neat. It got to the point where I was learning how to type and get on typewriter. Now it's a computer. You can, do it on your iPad or whatever, your laptop. So when it comes to your resume, I shouldn't tell you, but I guess I might as well make sure you type it. I've never seen a handwritten resume, but I wouldn't be surprised. All right, so letters of recommendation. What is a letter of recommendation?
Tell you about the person who produces a letter of recommendation that should tell the employer about the person.
Yep.
His character, everything. Everything that's important.
It's exactly that. Another term would be a reference,
Yes.
referral. Someone that is going to take their time to write something about you to a potential employer.
And it should be written by someone who knows you well.
Correct. The reason why I always say letter of recommendation next is because if I go to you and say, excuse me, can you write a letter of recommendation for me? And you say, sure. Then you need to know where I'm applying or what type of position I'm trying to get. I may know him from work, I may know him from school, but he may not know my professional history. So what should I give him for him to make it easier to write a letter of recommendation for me?
Tell me what you're applying for. The type of job you're applying for.
The background. I should give him a copy of my resume. It's easy, simple. It's like, I'm applying for this position. He's already going to know what position it is because it's talking about the resume. He'll know me. And then it gives them the opportunity to write the resume in a way, write the letter of recommendation in a way that it ties in with the resume. If I tell you that I'm applying for a job, for a construction job, and my resume is all about construction, but let's say he's Dean Henderson, and he doesn't know about me in construction, he just knows about me in class, and says, well, you know, he's a good student, he comes to class, and whatever. That really doesn't have anything to do with construction. But if he knows that I'm applying for a construction position, and this is my experience in construction, then he's going to write it and saying that, well, he's a great student, he comes to class, he's very attention to detail, which is very important in the construction industry, you know, just kind of tie it together. So that's why it's really important to make sure that when you ask someone to write a letter of recommendation on your behalf, you give them a resume. Makes their life easier, makes your life easier. So, person's name, length of time that the referring party has known them. If I get a letter of recommendation from someone and I'm reading it, I'm going to want to know how long you've known them.
Yeah.
If you've only been knowing them 6 weeks, that's not really a good character reference. So if you don't put that in there, I'm not going to know how long you've known them. So you say, well, I've known Chad Larkins for the past 12 years, and he's expressed this. How the applicant is exceptional to others. I've been working at Home Depot for the past 10 years, and all the employees that I've worked with, Chad has been one of the top 5 to ever do this. So it shows how long you've known him, and it's separating you from the rest. Also, the referring party in there should kind of list their qualifications or what gives them the right to make such a statement on you. The applicant's character traits relevant to the position being targeted. You want to avoid certain characteristics like your race, religion, color, nationality, age, appearance, marital status, or disabilities. So you definitely don't want someone to say, for Chad to be a black man, he's the best black man I've known. That's worked at Home Depot. You know, I know a lot of women, but, you know, she's one of the best female cashiers I've ever. There's certain things you just don't put in there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the last thing is next week is your last week, right?
Right.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back next week and I'm going to discuss proper attire. That's the one we didn't do, and then we can maybe roll through some of this stuff again. But work-based learning. Work-based learning. In other words, volunteer.
Right.
Okay? That is one of the easiest ways to get a job. Who in here is working? Who in here has a job? No one? Make up an imaginary job this year.
I used to do security.
You do security. Okay, well, that's a tough one. Say, I'll come work there for free. They're like, nah, I don't know about you. Just coming here working, doing security free, but
But I did that. I did volunteer to do security.
you did, and then what happened?
At a club.
then did they end up hiring you?
Mm-hmm.
How long did you volunteer before they hired you?
About a month,
And how long did you do security there?
8 years.
Wow.
See what I'm saying? Volunteer for a month and worked there 8 years.
I volunteered at a nightclub.
For a month. Look, I bet you didn't have to do a resume.
Actually, I did.
You did? Okay, okay. I mean, because sometimes when you volunteer, the
Yeah.
doors just open up.
That's right,
That's,
that's right.
that's excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Very happy for you. But you know, it's hard to volunteer when if you're not working, you need to make money. And that's the hard part. It's like, I want to work because I need to pay my bills, but then I can't volunteer because then they're not going to pay me for it.
But
Right.
the thing about it, when you volunteer, if there's any vacancy, you're the first person they look at if you do well.
Right, at first it was hard because I didn't need the money because I was a single mom and I needed the money. But it was at a nightclub where they sold food at night. So I had the opportunity to feed my family at one point at the end of the night because they didn't throw away food and it was all in package. And I relied on tips because at the door, if you're nice and pleasant, well dressed, it was a black and white affair. So we had to wear suits, ties, and open the door, basically as a doorman. So
Like concierge,
yeah,
yeah.
concierge and everything like that. So that's what we relied on. And he saw that I did a good job. And one of his owners owned the security company. And he saw that I did a good job greeting and customers and making sure everything was okay. He sent me to school for it.
Excellent. That's excellent. You know, it's I look at it like this, if you're not working, you're not getting paid. And if you're volunteering, you're not getting paid. What's really the big difference? Only problem is, like, if you're volunteering, you might have to drive to the job, that's gas money.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a child, you have to have a babysitter, how you gonna handle that? I mean, it's some sacrifices. But if you put forth the effort, nothing's guaranteed, but what's the old saying? Was it quitters never win or something like that?
What?
It's- Yeah, quitters never win.
Yeah.
Never. You can never win a race unless you run.
That's right.
Now, that doesn't mean, let's say track. That doesn't mean you have to run around the track. It doesn't mean you could walk around the track. You could crawl around. You could walk backwards. But if you start,
to keep track.
yeah, if you start and you finish, that's it. But if you're sitting in the stands and you never go out there, I guarantee you there's a 100% chance you will never win the race. When I was in school, I used to swim. And I wasn't the fastest swimmer, but I had endurance. I would do like a 500. And when you're swimming, it's all about points. You have to have more points than the other team, and at the end, that's where the winner came from. So it was kind of close. Well, when it came to my portion, which was the 500, the other team's swimmer didn't show up. So I was swimming the race by myself. Now the point is, I didn't have to swim hard. I could backstroke the whole way if I wanted to, because I knew I had no competition.
Right.
So I can't guarantee you that you will be successful in getting hired, submitting your resume, getting through the interview process, being the best dressed, having the best manners. But you have to start somewhere. And if you put these steps together and have the confidence and go in there, you'll be all right. We definitely be all right. Let's see if I can. So volunteering, we talked about that. Job shadowing. What job shadowing is, an example of job shadowing would be let's say I wanted to be a dentist, and I went over to Dr. Henderson's office and said, Dr. Henderson, I've always wanted to be a dentist, but I'm not sure if it's something that I really want to go through with. Do you mind if I just come in one day next week and just follow you around and see how it is?
Mm-hmm.
Well, spending that day with the dental office, you get a chance to know what happens in the front desk, in the x-ray room, in the back, billing, the invoicing, dealing with the customers, the pay. You understand, so you'll know if it's a job you want to go into. But while you're there, something may happen. They may say, well, I really like the fact that you showed an interest in wanting to do this. We have a weekend position from 9 to 1 where we take clients just on a half a day on Saturdays. Would you like doing that because the other lady or other man can't do it? And that's just from volunteering.
Mm-hmm.
Internships. Internship is typically when you are in school and you get credit for volunteering. When I was in college, I had an internship at a radio station. And sometimes you have paid internships and sometimes you have unpaid internships. So I had and I thought I was making money too. I had a paid internship. I worked an entire semester for $500. Entire semester. But working in that radio station, because I was at Howard University and I worked at a station called WHUR. I worked in their accounting and marketing department. So it gave me an opportunity to get some hands-on training for the major I had at the time. My major was accounting. And not many places are going to allow an 18-year-old kid to come into their accounting office and start doing their books.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no experience, like, no, we don't want you.
Mm-hmm.
So when you go and volunteer, they'll give you what they want you to do. The cool thing about it is, because I volunteered, because I had an internship, I got credit for it, which went to my college credits, but it gave me the opportunity to know that I didn't like accounting.
Yeah.
It was boring to me. I could not handle sitting at the desk or a cubicle all day long, doing this and spreadsheets, and I couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
Drive me crazy. So why would I go through the entire college experience to go to apply for a job for something that I don't like? So that's why when you're younger, a lot of high schools now ask the students to volunteer. Some of them it's mandatory to volunteer. But I think interning is a good opportunity as well. Then you have apprenticeships. That's like, excuse me, if you're in some type of trade, plumbing, electrician, carpentry, they'll typically have apprenticeship programs. But that's mostly in states that are unionized. So you have like the general laborer, you have the foreman in and you go through specific training. So with the interviewing skills, you want to make sure you research the company that you're applying for, rehearse before the interview, and bring several resumes. Why do you want to research the company before you go in there?
What if they ask you a question, you don't know nothing about the company?
Say that again?
If they ask you a question, you don't know nothing about the company?
Correct.
What answer?
Correct. Well, why do you want to work here at Home Depot? I don't know, I just saw you had help one sign in the paper. Well, what do you know about Home Depot? I don't know. I mean, that's what you need to tell me. You were founded in such and such, such and such. You have locations in every state outside of Hawaii. You have 2,000 employees. I mean, let me know that you want to be here. Bring several resumes, because I might interview with you and you say, I'm glad you came in today, the regional vice, whatever is here, and they're actually the one that makes the hiring decision, so I'm gonna have you go and speak to her. How's it look if I say, oh, can you make a copy of that resume for me? I only brought one. I'm prepared. Or if there's a panel interview, like if you brought me in here because I wanted to be a new teacher, and other people from the Board of Education were here interviewing me. Am I going to walk in with one resume? I'm going to walk in with one for everybody, right? So when you go to a job interview, you have to think that you're not only going to be interviewing with one person. Bring a notepad and pen to take notes. They may ask you a question that you don't know the answer. Write the question down. That gives you an opportunity to follow back up with them at a later date, which shows responsibility. Ask questions, write down answers. Be happy, be smile, smile. No one wants to hide smile with mean mug, attitude. You haven't even got the job yet, and you already, my appointment was at 10. It's 10:30. Y'all ain't called me back yet. What kind of job is this? Are you serious? Sell it. Sell it. Speak slowly and clearly. Remember that your voice speaks volume. Ask for clarification when needed, especially if you are unsure about a question. Don't leave the interview without asking for the job if you want it. That's another important one. If you go to a job interview and you really enjoy talking to the person and they tell you all about the company, before the interview is over, I mean, they might ask you, well, do you have any questions before we wrap up? I say, well, yeah. When are you going to call me to start? I really want to work with you. They might say, can you come in on Tuesday? You don't know till you ask. Don't assume anything. Conclude with thanking them for taking the time to interview you. One thing before we wrap up today. Before leaving the interviewer, ask them for their business card, if they have one, or write down their name. You want to follow up 1 week later with a handwritten card to that person that interviews you. Now these are my little brownie points that I do. I always do this. Always. When I meet someone, I get their business card, I always take their card and about a week later, I write them a little note. Joe Smith, it was a pleasure meeting you at the Hilton during the such and such conference. I look forward to speaking with you in the future, Chad Martins. Put my card in there, mail it to him. If I never hear back from him, fine. But a couple years ago, there was a lady that got a job promotion in the construction industry. And she had her bio in the paper and talked all about how she went from here, got to here. So I just tried it. It had the name of the company, her name. So I took the Ms. Jones, on your new position as Vice President of Jamaican Construction. Keep up the good work. Chad Larkins, put my card in. This is a true story. 6 months later, we were bidding a contract, and they asked me to come in to go over my bid. She was the one sitting down. She looked at my name. She said, the name sounds familiar. She was an African American lady. The name sounds familiar. And I said, it does. I said, oh, I mailed you a card. She said, oh yeah, I still have the card right here. She said, no one did that, not even her family. This person who I never met before had my card that I mailed her, like, pinned on her wall. Did I get the contract? What do you think?
Yes.
Yes, I got the contract. Little things like that go a long way. Little things. So after you mail a card to them, then 2 weeks, well, that's 1 week later, you mail a card. Then another week after that, which will be 2 weeks after the interview, send them a quick little email. Pleasure meeting you, blah, blah, blah. Keep them posted. If they like the Redskins, Ghost Skins, whatever, okay? Then the next week, now you get to the third week, that's the time you pick up the phone. You say, hello, Mrs. Smith or Mrs. Jones, whatever. This is Chad Larkins. I wanted to follow up with you on the position that I applied for 3 weeks ago. After that, stop. Okay? You want to be persistent, but you don't want to be annoying.
Yeah.
You don't want to interview somebody and then the next week they call you. Are you happy? What's the answer? What's the answer? You don't want to be like a bill collector. When you start off with that little card, that shows class. That's like, everyone here, what do you usually get 99% of the time at home when you get something in the mail? What is it? Or a bill, right? When was the last time you got a card in the mail just saying Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays or whatever? No, people don't do cards anymore. People email, text. So a card means that not only did I get a card, but I took the time to write it, took the time to put a stamp on it and take it to the post office and mail it. It separates you from the rest. And when you get something nice like that, somebody sends you an email, you read it, then what do? Delete it.
Yes.
Someone sends you a nice card, it's on a really pretty stationery or something. Are you just gonna rip that thing in the trash?
Something to say there.
Yeah, it's just something, like when you get Christmas cards, you just put them all over the house, or Hanukkah, or whatever, holiday you celebrate. So when you take that time, I mean, how much are stamps now? 40 cents, 45 cents?
52,
Okay. You can go to Family Dollar or whatever, get a pack of cards, 10 cards for $1. And you mail out a card, so that's 10 cents for the card, 50 cents for the stamp, 60 cents. When you email somebody, that's free. When you call them, it's free. So you've invested 60 cents that could turn into a position that 8 years. All right? That's it. Thank you. I'll see you next Tuesday, same time.